Hey, what's up, people? Y'all come on in. Waiting on y'all.
Let me go ahead and give you the topic for
Look
tonight.
at
So y'all ready? Does he fit your
Oh,
future or your fantasy? Does he fit your future or your fantasy? Hashtag future or fantasy. There you go.
Hashtag.
Y'all
future.
know if you remember them hashtags. Come on now. Future or fantasy. That's our hashtag for tonight. I appreciate that.
Let's talk.
Does he fit your future or your fantasy?
Yeah.
So here we go.
Here we go.
All
Let's
right.
get started.
If I had that music, you know how you watch those sitcoms or TV shows and they have that music, and then the screen starts waving, and it's the theme to take you back to the past. So imagine that going on right now. Like we got the music playing and the screen just kind of waving, and we're going back in time with that memory. Y'all ready? Okay, y'all back in time? Everybody got their memory? All right, here's what I want you to think about. Y'all ready? Okay.
Uh-oh. I feel it.
Okay.
I feel it.
Think about a past relationship.
No, think about all of them.
I'm just gonna give y'all one.
No,
Okay,
think
think
about
about all your past relationships.
Past marriages, whatever the case may be.
And think about why they did not work.
So we're going to give y'all about 10 to 30 seconds. Some of y'all don't need long at all.
Right.
So we're going to give y'all
Think
a few things
about
to think
why they did not work.
Think
Are
about
you there?
why they did not work. This is something that we're going to get everybody involved in right now.
Why didn't it work? Was the other person, did they have jealous tendencies?
Were
Okay.
they insecure?
Were they insecure? Were they immature? Think about that. Why did your past relationships not work?
Were you looking for a father figure because you didn't have one? We're going to get into all this tonight.
Let's see, like I ain't even had that on my paper.
It's okay. It's okay. We just going to flow
See,
with
you
it
getting
tonight.
tight already.
Yeah.
I'm trying to ease y'all into tightness. He getting tight already. Okay? Think about it. Why didn't they work? Now, you thought about that, and I hear you in your head going, yeah, he didn't do this, and yeah, he didn't do that, and yeah, she didn't do this, and yeah, she didn't do that. Boop! Here we go. I want you to turn the mirror on yourself now.
Oh.
And I want to know how you showed up in those relationships that did not work. Here's my question to you. What needs did that person fulfill at the time you got in a relationship with them?
What needs did that person fulfill in your life at that time?
Because there's a reason why you got in a relationship with them.
Okay.
Did they invoke past emotions, both good and bad?
Okay.
Did they bring you back to some childhood memories that you had, that you may have seen with your mama, your daddy, your grandmama, all of those people who are significant people in your life? What emotions did you feel while you were in this relationship with this person?
Oh my.
Because you got into the relationship to fulfill a need that was going on with you at the time.
Oh, yeah.
And see, I was trying to ease you into it, but Lawrence already kind of went in that direction. Were you dealing with daddy issues? Were you looking for a father figure and you realized this person kind of fulfills that need? Were you looking for somebody that made you feel a certain type of way? I.e., he made me feel complete. She completes me. I feel love. Yeah. What childhood issues have you not dealt with that you got into that relationship hoping that it would fulfill a need for you? Or were you just plain up lonely and felt that this person was going to fulfill a need that you had at that time? I know it's getting tight already. I apologize for that. But the question is, what need did that person fulfill for you at the time you got into that relationship? Because you were so busy pointing the finger.
Okay.
And I told you to turn that mirror on yourself now. So now you're doing that self-introspective now. Now you're looking at yourself and asking yourself, how did I show up in that relationship? Who was I in that relationship? Did I bring the best of me in that relationship? Or did I bring the worst of me hoping that somebody could bring out the best of me? Because you do know somebody can't do that, right?
My.
I'm just saying. You show up the best way you can, hoping to bring out something in each other that what complements each other, but nobody completes you. You show up complete and whole of yourself. So when you show up in a relationship hoping that someone completes you, listen, you already at a deficit. You already behind the 8 ball, like they say, them pool players. You already behind the 8 ball. Does that make sense? Okay.
I want to give an example of what we mean by in past relationships. Was it something from your past that you identified with? So let me give a good example of myself, right? Because this is we are really very transparent. So when I remember when I was growing up, my brother and I both when we were growing up, I always said, I don't know why, I always said, man, when I get married, I'm gonna find somebody like my mom.
Okay.
My mom was very nice. She was very, she wasn't loud, or she wasn't, never heard her curse, even to this day. Oh man, she was just a very, very nice person. It's like, man, when I get married, I'm gonna find somebody just like that. And guess what? In my previous marriage, I found somebody just like that. But guess what? Only to discover that because I was always an outgoing person, I was always entrepreneurial, I was always one who's always striving to do and to have and to be. What I discovered was, yes, I wanted somebody who was like my mom, but I didn't want somebody who was like my mom. Now, let me break that down for you. My mom is an excellent person, but she has no get up and go. She has no, just nothing to say I want to do, I want to be. She's just happy and content with life. And that's what I had before. I had somebody that was just like her. So what I ended up doing was attracting something from my childhood, which was somebody who didn't fit my future. They just fit the fantasy that I had, as I wanted somebody like my mom. Come on now, y'all be honest and say, you know what? I did the same thing. I found somebody just like my dad, somebody who wasn't there for me. I found somebody just like my dad who was just controlling. I found somebody just like my dad who, just didn't help around the house. And that's what we end up doing. We end up finding people who fit our fantasy. You might say, well, that wasn't my fantasy. It was, because you were thinking about your childhood. You were like, man, okay, but then flip the coin on some of y'all. Some of y'all can testify that you grew up in a household maybe where your mom was abused, where your dad abused your mom, or your mom had different men coming in and out of their life. And watch this now, and you ended up finding the same type of person, somebody who was abusive, because you were in an abnormal situation thinking that it was normal, only to discover that it was very abnormal. Who am I talking to today? Okay? Listen, I feel like I'm about to roll tonight because I'm trying to help us to understand. I don't even know what I said, but let me just see if I can remember. The point I'm making is some people grew up in very abusive homes, and they ended up finding somebody that was just like that, abusive, controlling, manipulative, whatever it might have been. Whatever you saw in your past generally is going to meet you in your future. Can I slow it down, because I get excited when I talk about this kind of stuff? And then there were people who watch women come in and out of the dad's life or whatever, or vice versa. They had their moms who had a bunch of men coming through, and what they ended up doing, following that same cycle. Not in all cases, but in a lot of cases. Am I talking to y'all? Anybody know what I'm talking about already? Because I said I wanted somebody like my mom. Oh, she was so nice. But guess what? Boring me to death when I got into that situation. I was like, man, I got to find somebody who wants something out of life.
And then when we even talking about,
I'm tired now.
Even when we talk about invoking those past experiences, I've even encountered women who don't want to get married. Who said, well, my grandmama wasn't married, my mama wasn't married, and guess what? I don't want to get married either. Okay, interesting. So now when we talk about invoking these past experiences, sometimes you don't even know that you've attracted that type of person until you're sitting face to face looking at yourself in the mirror going, how did I end up here? How did I end up in this space right here with somebody who doesn't even love me for me, who's constantly trying to change me to make themselves feel better? How did I end up here being okay with a person who wants to be my boyfriend for 20 years and not give me their name, but want to treat me or make me feel like I have to do all these wifely duties without all the benefits that go along with being a wife? I'm just saying. How did I end up here having all of these children with nobody to help me? I'm just saying. And guys, how did I end up here having 2 baby mamas and neither one of them will let me see my kid because both of them have daddy issues and they mad with me because our relationships didn't work?
Wow.
I'm just saying. The same thing that happened to you with your mama is the same thing that's happened to you with your baby's mamas.
Ooh, my.
We're just putting it
But
out
the
there.
topic is, does he or she fit your fantasy or your future?
Y'all ready?
Let's talk.
All right. Woo,
Let's
get a sip
it
of water.
started in here.
Everybody get a
Let's
sip of
get it
water. It's
started
okay.
in here. Get
It's
your
okay.
sip of water.
Get your sip of water now.
Because we're getting ready to go a little bit deeper.
All right.
A little deeper.
So when we think about our childhood, a lot of people think about how they experience their childhood, good, bad, or indifferent. The truth of the matter is, if you black and you grew up in America, your childhood was dysfunctional. For
the most part.
For the most part. Even if you had both parents in the house. I'm going to just be honest. Even with both parents in the house, there was still a level of dysfunction somewhere in your childhood. And in the back of your mind, somewhere, some of that shows its head sometimes in your relationships. Let's fast forward. Even if your daddy wasn't in the house with you. Let's say, for instance, your parents never got together. The fact that he was absent was an issue for you and shows up even now.
Oh, yeah, for sure.
My parents were together. My parents were great parents to me and my sisters. I've said this before, but they sucked at being husband and wife. They were poor examples of what love looked like.
I'm telling you.
As we got older, we began to see that both of them, and I'm going back to a generation before them, both of their fathers were alcoholics. So both my parents grew up in abusive homes growing up. So if they saw that and they didn't work on that, what do you think me and my sisters saw growing up?
Same thing.
The same thing. Until you decide to process that with somebody that can help you process that, what ends up happening is you end up repeating the same pattern, not even recognizing that you're repeating the same habit because it looks normal.
That's true.
Dysfunction and abnormalities look normal when you're growing up in it. When dysfunction looks normal. And you don't know it until you get out and you start seeing other people. And you start going, wait a minute. You mean it's not normal for my parents to cuss each other out? You mean it's not normal for people to lay hands on each other? You mean it's not normal for people to cuss each other out? No, that's not normal. That's not normal. And so what ends up happening is we get into these relationships with these fantasies. Now, what is normal is for people to disagree. What is normal is for people to have a difference of opinion. And what is normal is for people to talk those opinions out. What's not normal is for us to cuss them out. That's not normal.
Right.
So what ends up happening is you think that's normal and you create a fantasy of a person based on that abnormality.
Like Jen, so she ain't never thought people sat down and eat together.
Yeah. Just like our daughter, and she's not our biological daughter, but you can't tell her she's not. But when she first got here with us, we eat dinner tonight, every night together. Every night we eat together. And when we called her to dinner the first few times when she stayed here with us, she was like, y'all sit down and
Couples
eat.
actually eat together?
Yeah. And not only that, but we talk to each other all the time. She's like, what do you mean y'all sit and eat together and talk to each other? Like we're not in front of the TV watching TV, ignoring each other, just sucking up the same air. We don't do that. We're engaged, just like we engage with y'all right now.
That's right.
That's what we do. So it took her a long time.
Really? She's like, this is not right.
It actually took her a long time to get used to us being around each other,
Talking to each other.
and talking to and not screaming at each other. And she thinks it's hilarious now when we try to pretend to scream at each other. She busts out laughing because she's like, that ain't even real. Stop playing. So she's learning. She's learning what looks normal to her now. She's having to go back and deal with some of the things that she grew up with in her parents' home and going, wait, what I experienced as a child really wasn't normal. No, it's really not normal.
Right.
And having to almost detox herself from all of that to say, oh, what I experienced, which is rooted in me, is not normal. So now I've got to uproot it and put some roots down for stuff that really is normal. Does that make sense?
Makes sense.
All right. So tonight, here we go. Y'all ready? Y'all holding tight? Y'all got the foundation of what we're gonna talk about now. Here we go.
Hey, listen, before we go into our we got five 5 ways to
5 facts.
5 facts for the future. 5
Yep.
facts for the future. Before we go into our 5 facts for the future, I need y'all to find the share button so that we can help other people
Where is the share
to
button,
get
honey?
this message
Where's
out.
the share button?
Share button is down, depending where you
Yeah,
are.
it's
To
right
your
there.
left,
Yeah.
it says share.
Share.
Just hit share, and that way it'll be on your page so that other people can hear this information. Watch this, so that they can have facts for the future.
Yeah.
So here we go. So I want to state this first before we even get started. That when you think about it, right, find people for your future. The first thing I want you to understand, this is not a point, is that you need to know what your future looks like, what you want your future to look like. People get into relationships and they're not even able to articulate what they're really even looking for.
Yes.
Most people get into relationships and cannot articulate what
They
they're
can't
even
tell you
looking
what
for.
they're looking for.
All I know is I want to be in a relationship with somebody who love me. What does that look like? What is that?
Really? What is love to you?
Yeah.
What is your definition of love? What does love look like to you? When I'm in sessions, honey, or when we're in sessions too, people always say, well, they can't communicate. Is it that the person cannot communicate in a way that you understand it? Or is it that you're putting your own filter on it? So when they are really communicating to you, you so busy trying to defend yourself or say why it is the way it is that you're not really listening to what they're saying. Because communication is both ways. You got to speak and you got to listen. So when we think about these relationships, whether or not this person fits your future or your fantasy, everybody has an idea of the person they want to be with. Howsoever. If you don't know yourself first, it doesn't matter whether or not that person shows up or not, because you will never be ready for that person because you don't know yourself first.
That's it.
To thine own self be true.
To thine
My
own self.
favorite saying in the whole wide world. To thine own self be true. And so you got to know you before you show up for anybody else.
Say it again.
What?
You got to know you
Before
you
you
show up for anybody else.
You got to know you.
You got to know what you want before you can get to the point of
That's
asking
it.
somebody to give you what you came and articulate. Are
Know
you hearing me?
Spend some time knowing
Yes.
you. Listen, one of the things I knew about me was that I could not have anybody who cussed me out, raise their voice at me, and put their hands on me.
'Cause that's all you
I
saw.
knew that about me.
That's what you saw.
That's what I saw. So when we got together, and these are conversations we had while we were dating. So if you've missed that, you need to go back and
Yes.
watch that video, Dating with a Purpose. Dating with a Purpose. One of the things I knew about me, like it's one of my non-negotiables. And if you've not heard us talk about the 4 pillars, wants, needs, expectations, and non-negotiables, you got to know that about yourself first. I know you can't raise your voice at me because you're going to start to sound like Charlie Brown's teacher and I'm out. You can't cuss me out because that don't work for me. And you definitely can't lay your hands on. Y'all see how light-skinned I am? You can just tap me and I turn red. So no, you cannot do that with me. That's a non-negotiable. One of his non-negotiables, let me tell you, don't play on his intelligence.
Ooh.
That is the quickest way.
Ooh.
I started to say too. But that is
That's
the
the
quickest way
to bring the ghetto out of me. I'm talking
to
about
play on his
ghetto.
intelligence.
What?
Listen, I know that about him. And because he is a communicator, because his love language is words,
Oh my.
that's one of his needs. He needs to have conversations.
Yeah.
And so because I know that about him,
Yeah.
one of my needs is I need time. I can go buy stuff
Yeah.
myself, although he does a real good job of buying me stuff. But I can go buy my own stuff.
Yeah.
But what I need is time. Sit down and watch a movie with me. Sit down and watch
Even if
the
I
movie.
go to sleep.
Even if you go to sleep.
Listen to me, Linda.
But those things I knew about me before I even got into a relationship with him.
And so if you can articulate what you're looking for and the person that you're dating can't give it to you, stop dating potential. That's not even on my script. And I don't have a script.
Did y'all get
Too many of y'all date
Stop
potential,
dating.
hoping that
You running over that.
they-
Let that marinate for a
Yeah.
second. Stop dating potential. You are not 17. You are not 18. You are not 19. Y'all are grown A people. Stop. At this age, you should not be dating potential.
Now, what we mean by that is, we're not saying that
Golly.
a lady may not be potential married material. I'm not saying that at all. But I'm saying,
At this age, you should be dating somebody that's trying to find themselves.
right, that's what we're talking about.
Woo! That was good right there, honey. Stop dating potential. At this age, you should, ladies.
Because none of y'all on here in your teens.
Can I speak
You
to
can't
the
handle
ladies?
this kind of conversation.
Can I speak to the ladies?
Speak to the ladies.
Listen,
All the single ladies and married. Okay,
you know what?
that's all right. That's all right.
Ladies,
That's all right.
in this day and age,
Okay.
with your grown self,
Okay.
you should not be dating a man who's still trying to find himself. You should not be dating a man who doesn't bring anything to the table. And I ain't talking about just monetary stuff here, but he should be able to take care of himself. You shouldn't be taking him from his mama's house to your house. That's potential. Ladies, stop doing that. He shouldn't be in your house sucking up all your air while you at work making a living. Come on, ladies. At this point, the person that you with should be about your future and not your fantasy. If he can rock your world in the bedroom, listen, he needs to be able to rock your world in your bank account. He needs to be bringing something to the table at this point. He should be talking to your future, not your fantasy. If he look good butt naked, listen, he needs to be looking good in a suit. You should not be dating a man who don't own a suit at this point in your life. And I ain't talking about these boys. Listen, I ain't talking about these
Girl, you
boys.
hitting too hard.
I am?
Ooh.
I need to back up.
Ooh. I got to back that thing up.
Okay.
You better back that
All
thing
right.
up, girl.
I'm just saying. At this point, ladies, stop trying to be his mama. Stop trying to take care of him. It's a partnership at this age.
That girl said don't date nobody don't own no suit.
Listen.
You threw that. You threw me off on that one. But I had to sit up on that one.
I'm sorry. I'm tired of looking at women who are in their late 30s, 40s, and 50s walking around with these boys trying to be a woman on the arm of a boy. That's not what we do. Stop trying to date potential. Listen, y'all about to make me go off it. I ain't been here in a while. Let me get back on target here. Because I'm about to go real left on this. When you start, at this day and age in your life, you should not be taking care of a man. I'm just going to put it out there. If you got to pay the rent, if you got to make the car payments, if you got to shuffle bills around to put groceries in your house, if you've got to do all of that, then what the heck do you need the boy for?
You started to say another word. I felt
did.
it.
It took all I had.
You started to say, what the hell?
I did.
I felt that
I
thing.
did. And men, don't let me get started on the men
Y'all
now.
got her saying
Listen.
them crazy words. She on a
Listen,
roll.
men, if she don't know how to stimulate you here, you dating potential.
Well, no, let's go no further now, because men can't stimulate. Here. Talk about women. If the women want to be stimulated
You ain't
here
let me
too.
finish- you ain't let me finish that.
Finish. Finish.
Because men at this age, listen,
You ought to have something to say.
there you go. You need to have something to say. You need to have something to put into her spiritual bank account, into her mental bank account, into her emotional bank account. Because listen, I started to go real left. I started to go real left. Listen, what you used to be able to do all night at 18, 19, and 20, listen, it don't take that long no more. So now what you actually bringing to the table, listen, her figure 8 that got you in the first place is going to turn into a figure 0. It's going to. It's the nature of the game. And as a woman, we need to understand when you are dating men in this day and age, listen, you got to ask the right questions. Men, you got to do the same thing. Stop playing. Stop dating potential at this point. She needs to be able to talk to you about your future, not your fantasy. Listen, fantasies are out the window for this age group. I'm talking to everybody over the age of 35 at this point. It's no longer a fantasy. It's the future and the facts. And so if he ain't checking off these facts that we about to give y'all, if she ain't checking off these facts that we about to give y'all, stop living in the fantasy world. I'm just saying. You ready, honey? Y'all ready? I ain't mean to go left on y'all. I meant to tread lightly on my first day back.
Tread lightly tonight.
Hey, I meant to go a little light on my first day back.
I'm about done tonight.
All right, so we got 5 facts for your future because we don't even deal in fantasy around here because you ain't got time to be dealing with nobody's fantasy. You ain't got time no more. Stop playing. You ain't got time. 5 facts to deal with your future. Ready? Here's the first one.
5 facts for the future.
You ready?
You ready?
Here we go. First fact. Do you see evidence of emotional maturity?
Ooh.
Do you see facts? Because facts are things we can check off. Facts are written in stone.
Emotional maturity.
Emotional maturity.
Oh.
Do you see evidence of emotional maturity? You want to talk about what emotional maturity actually
No,
is?
you talk about it because you've been hitting good tonight. I ain't saying nothing.
All right, here's what emotional maturity looks like. All right. Now remember, we're talking about facts. We ain't talking about fantasies. We done. We too old to be dealing with fantasies. We're talking about facts. Emotional maturity looks like this. You're evolving from the past. Yeah, you admit your mistakes. Yeah, you admit you did some dirt. Yeah, you admit you made some mistakes. Yeah, you admit you had some indiscretions in your life. But the truth of the matter is I'm evolving from my past. I'm evolving from the fact that the first time I got married because of fantasy. Now I'm ready to get in a relationship based on facts. So I'm evolving from my past. I admit that when I was younger, I used to make mistakes when it came to my money. But now that I'm older, the fact is I got to do a better job of managing my income. Emotional maturity. The truth of the matter is I grew up in dysfunction, but now I'm evolving. So I understand that I should be unpacking the baggage from my emotional childhood. And my 10-year-old self should not be showing up in my 50-year-old relationship.
Good Lord.
I'm just saying. Does that make sense? So emotional maturity looks like being able to unpack that baggage from past relationships, from past childhood trauma, from past relationship trauma. Because that's the truth of the matter. Sometimes relationships do have trauma in them. And so as a person who is looking at the future based on facts and not looking at the fantasies of the past, I'm looking for somebody who's evolving from their past. That's emotional maturity. Emotional maturity is also constantly thinking and learning.
About yourself.
About yourself. Come on now.
Growing.
You're growing. If you still walking around at 50 with sagging pants on, if you still walking around and you ain't got no checking account or no way to manage your money right now, and you in your late 40s, come on now. Are they speaking to your future or your fantasy?
I'm just quiet right now.
I'm just asking the question. Emotional maturity.
Let me deal with this emotional maturity because I don't want them to think I ain't got nothing to say. I got a lot to say, but you just knocking them dead tonight. Somebody said you throwing too many haymakers. You know, going straight upside.
We ain't doing that.
Upside your head. Said whoop upside your
We
head.
ain't doing that. I'm a drink and be quiet.
So emotional maturity. Let me go a little further with emotional maturity because one of the things that we always want to be doing is evolving, becoming better.
Yeah.
Because the truth of the matter is that most, if not all of us, have come from some type of dysfunction. Most, if not all of us, especially as men, have made enough mistakes, have ran the games, all that type of stuff. At some point, we have to start evolving, learning from our past mistakes, and start to do better. We should always be open to growing, always opening to finding out what is it about myself that I can be better at, better in. And once you're doing that, you're now reaching that point of emotional maturity. You're able to show up now emotionally for your significant other. Women, you're now able to show up emotionally, even though y'all are emotional beings. The truth of the matter is, as men, we're not as emotional as you are. But once we continue to learn and grow individually, we now become more emotionally mature. And maturity is an ever-growing process. Maturity is an ever-evolving process. You can never, ever feel like you've arrived to that point of maturity that you don't need anybody else telling you anything. And while I'm on that point, let me just say something about men. And we've got to get to the point of even understanding that, yes, there are people that can tell you something. Because most men, can't nobody tell me nothing. You know, you got relationship issues. Your girl trying to tell you y'all got issues. You don't know how to communicate this, that, and the other. Well, honey, let's go see a therapist. Let's go see a counselor. I don't need nobody telling me what to do. I know what I'm doing. If you did, you wouldn't be at that point. So throw your pride, your ego, your everything aside and recognize that you don't know it all, bruh. You don't. It's okay. It's okay. I've been dealing with this couple. They come for premarital counseling. They're not married yet. But the brother was like, he said his fiance was saying, hey, I want us to go get some counseling. He was like, listen, I don't know it all. I want to go to make sure that when I say I do, that I'm learning how to become better, because I didn't see a healthy marriage in my family. I didn't see a man who could teach me how to be a better husband. He said, so I want to learn all I can. And listen to me. The wife, fiance rather, she was just saying last week we went on the line with them doing a session. She was like, man, Mr. Knight, I don't know what you've been doing, but my fiance, he is a changed man, because I can help, because of the past mistakes that I've made, help brothers to understand that when you give women simple stuff, listen to me, man, listen, Freddie, listen, James, listen, all the brothers who are on here. We try to make it seem like women are hard to get along with. No, they're not. They're really not. Give them attention, communication, affection, and loyalty, and they'll go to bat for you. Are y'all listening to? Y'all notice I added another. Give them attention, communication, affection, and loyalty, and they'll go to the moon and back for you. But no, you want to act like she's hard to get along with. No, you just don't know how to get along with her. You don't know what it takes for her. She don't have a whole lot of detailed things about her life to make her happy. She just wants the simple things in life. And let me talk to the ladies for a second.
Come on,
some of y'all have been dealing with so many jacked up men that when a king comes and knocks on your door, you're thinking he's a joker like the past, because now he wants to be nice to you. He wants to take you out. He wants to open your door. And you're like, oh no, how long this go last? What's wrong with him? I ran into that so many times in my life. Listen to me good now. Because women have been so accustomed to men who dog them out, who does this and do that. And so when a nice man like me come along, it's like, okay, this too good to be true. And you end up running me away, because I ain't got time to deal with your foolishness of your past trauma from other relationships. I say it just like this. In the words of Lou Rawls, I told this one girl one time, listen, baby, I ain't finna beg you. I'm going to tell you like this, though. You'll never find another love like mine. And no, I'm not arrogant. I'm just confident in who I am. I'm a gentleman.
That's it. And we're still dealing with number one. Number one.
I said a lot there, didn't I?
Here we go. Facts for the future. Number one is, do you see evidence of emotional maturity? That was number one. Here's number two. Do you see evidence of appropriate boundaries?
Appropriate boundaries.
Appropriate boundaries. Now, we've said this before.
I'm tired now.
Boundaries serve two purposes: to keep you safe and to keep the other person safe. Plain and simple. Appropriate boundaries. To keep you safe, to keep the other person safe. So if you don't have appropriate boundaries in place, you're dealing with fantasies, not a future. Boundaries are good. You should know everything about everybody. You should know that. And everybody should know everything about your relationship with somebody. Does that make sense? So here you are trying to tell your girlfriends everything your man doing. What? Inappropriate boundary. I'm just saying. You have to make sure that you have appropriate boundaries in your relationship. My sisters are my best friends. Like we talk all day, every day. But my sisters don't know everything about my marriage. They shouldn't, because it would be an inappropriate boundary for me to tell my sisters everything that goes on in my marriage with my man. Does that make sense? We have appropriate boundaries. Y'all hear me?
Now take this to the male-female relationship.
So here's the thing: when it comes to male-females, are you dealing with facts of your future, or are you dealing with the fantasy? Appropriate boundaries is this. When you have inappropriate boundaries, you always feel like you got to go through their cell phone to find out what they're doing. You always feel like you need the passwords to their email and everything, because you got inappropriate boundaries. Listen, being able to talk and to communicate with each other helps to build healthy boundaries. Now, don't get me wrong. He knows the password to my phone. I know the password to his phone. But we don't go around picking up each other's phones to scroll through their text messages to find out who they talking to and who. I don't ask him when he walking in, who you talking to? Y'all, you laughing too much. Who you talking to? We don't do that to each other, because we've established appropriate boundaries with each other. That I don't feel like I have to go through his cell phone and go through his emails to see who he talking to have the password to his Facebook, although I do, to have his password to his Facebook to see who DMing him. Because we've established appropriate boundaries early on in our relationship. Healthy boundaries builds trust. Does that make sense?
Makes sense.
Okay. What you want to say about that?
Not a whole lot. You said a lot there. Appropriate boundaries
Builds trust.
builds trust.
And that goes with establishing who you are first. If I get in a relationship with you and I feel like I gotta go through your cell phone and everything, listen, I'm gonna find what I'm looking for. You keep looking, you're gonna find what you're looking for. That's what Steve Harvey says. Do you agree with that?
That what Lauren Knight say too.
I knew he was gonna say that. If you keep looking, but you shouldn't have to get to the point to where you start looking.
Because the bottom line is, watch this. When you're sensing something is not right, most times is not.
But you shouldn't be sensing that in the very beginning of your relationship, which means that that person is probably not the right person for you.
Amen.
I'm just saying. But now sometimes we don't listen and we gonna get in that relationship with them, and then 5 years later we finally get to hearing ourselves and going, oh, I should have listened 5 years ago. Yes, sis. Yeah, bro. You should have. Y'all ready? That's number 2. Evidence of appropriate boundaries. Here we go, number 3. Y'all ready? Number 3, 5 facts for the future. Number 3, evidence of self. What do I mean by self? Self-love, self-worth, self-value, self-esteem, evidence of self. A fact for the future is the person that you're getting involved with. Do you see evidence of self? Self-love, self-esteem, self-worth, self-value. And I'm glad you asked. Why is that important to you? You want to deal with that, honey?
I want to deal with it from this perspective here. Here's one of the things that I say. When a person has great self-esteem, they're not going to be people who are not interested in pushing you to become your best self. So let me say it a different way. If I have high self-esteem about myself, I'm going to make sure that I'm pushing you to develop that same sense of self-esteem. Let me go a little further. I'm going to be pushing you to do what makes you happy. I'm going to be pushing you to become your best self. I'm not going to try to keep you in a box, keep you in my little small world. I'm going to push you into your purpose, push you into your best self. I'm going to be encouraging you, inspiring you. I'm going to be making sure that you don't sit down on your ideas, that I'm going to say, no, God gave you that idea for a reason, and you need to be pursuing what it is that God has placed inside of you. Because listen to me, there's no way you can think about doing something if God had not put inside of you what it takes to make it happen. And because some people don't have self-love, they're not going to push you to a place of prosperity, if you will, or a place of happiness where they don't have self-love themselves. They're not going to push you to be the best you when they don't feel like they're the best them. Are y'all hearing what I'm saying? Yeah. And so when we talk about that evidence of self-love, self-respect, let me deal with the self-respect.
Yeah.
They are not going to respect you if they don't respect themselves. Are y'all hearing me? And let me just say this for some of y'all older brothers, older sisters, who still listen to that old gangster rap with the cussing and the B word and all that stuff in there. You can't expect to develop a healthy relationship when you got that negative influence going inside of you. It won't work, bro. It won't work, sis. Here you are dating a man 45, 50 years old. You get in his car and he got the B word playing all on the CD, and you think that he ain't going to eventually call you one. Well, you done lost your rabbit mind. You better come on and come to reality, because if it's in you, he may not say it verbally, but he going to act like you want. And so he going to be trying to spank that thing, and he going to be acting like you some old. Yeah, that's what I mean. Come on now. And I'm saying to you, what comes in you, what goes in you, is going to come out of you some way or another. Come on now. So you got this, here you ride with a joker playing that kind of stuff with your children in the car, and you wondering why your children gone crazy. They don't hear nothing but negative stuff. Am I talking to anybody today? Listen, what little bit I say tonight, it's raw, but it's true.
And that's just the truth of the matter. Evidence of self. Do you see in the other person evidence of self-love, self-worth, self-esteem, self-respect, self-value. Listen, stop trying. Come closer.
Come closer, Linda.
Because I'm going to say this, and this going to hit hard. If you got to work harder at building them up than you got to work at building yourself up, that person's not for you.
Ooh.
Listen now. If you've got to work harder, at building them up than you build yourself up, that person's not for you. Let me put it another way. If you've got to work harder, okay, at building them up than they do on themselves, that person's not for you. You cannot work harder than they do. This has got to be equal. I can't sit here and work harder at building Lawrence up than Lawrence works on Lawrence. That's not going to work. Because now Lawrence is relying on me to make himself feel good. And eventually that's going to fade. Does that make sense?
And then here's the other thing. You know, some of y'all, oh gosh. Some of y'all ladies get into relationships trying to fix a broken man. Really?
We're going to go
now, listen to me now. It's not to say that you can't help to
you can't
make
help him.
person,
Right.
a little better. But you can't fix brokenness until a person recognizes that they're broken. And then once they recognize that they're broken, then you got to take all your time to help put them back together. And here's the catch now. And then once they get put back together, the question is, are they going to stay with you? Okay, see, y'all want me to go and be honest about this thing. See, some of y'all can testify. Some of y'all on here, let me see if I can help y'all. Some of y'all on here can testify that when you were with him, he didn't have nothing. And you helped that joker get on his feet, and guess what he did? He left you because he felt like you weren't good enough for him now. And y'all better stop playing and act like I ain't telling the truth, because probably half of y'all on here probably have said, man, got that joker, got him a job, got him this, got him that.
I did.
And now he act like he don't even know me. Humpty Dumpty, thank you, Tanya, was sat on the wall. Humpty Dumpty had a great fall. And all the king husbands and all the king men couldn't put Humpty Dumpty back together again, but you put him together and he left you.
Left you. That's you.
Am I talking
That's
good
an
tonight?
example of you working harder on him than
That he's working on himself.
There you go. That's it. You did all of that. And
Now,
when he got himself back together, he left you because guess what? He realized that y'all didn't need to be together in the first place.
So here's the thing. So if a person is, if a person is taking it upon themselves to get help for their hurt, then quite naturally, yes, you know what? I can be there to help encourage you, support you. But if a person is not voluntarily going, that's kind of like, watch this now. That's kind of like a person who's on drugs, right? A person who's got a really bad drug habit. Listen, you can want them to get healed all you want to. You can be calling residential places for that joker to go to, and he'll go. Watch this. But until he decides for himself, this is what I want to do, then nothing's going to change. You can listen to me. Parents, you got kids who are strung on drugs. God bless you. Pray for them. But I promise you, you can waste your money sending them to rehab. But if they don't come to the conclusion, as it says in Luke 15, the prodigal son, and when he came to himself, when he decided that for himself, this ain't where I'm supposed to be living. This is not how I'm supposed to be living my life. Right. It was only then that he was able to go get some help. And I'm saying to some of y'all are trying to fix broken men. Women, y'all are trying to fix men. Men, y'all are trying to fix women. But until they come to the reality of themselves saying, you know what, I've got to do better, then and only then can you be that support for them.
That's it. Lawrence will tell you, I don't do substance abuse. And that's the very reason why I don't do substance abuse, because I cannot devote that time and energy to someone who's not quite there yet. And I've been known to do it when it comes to people who come to counseling. I've had people who come to counseling before, and once we've done the intake, they recognize, golly, you know what? I'm not ready to go down this path yet. And I'm polite about it. I'll tell them, listen, I'll be here when you're ready. But right now, what I see and your response to me engaging with you right now, just during intake, lets me know you're not ready to do this path. You're not ready to walk this walk yet. And there's nothing wrong with that. Give a person space to do what they need to do, but you can't change a person who's not ready to be changed. So when we look at it, evidence of self-love, self-esteem, self-worth, self-respect, and self-value, you can't want it more than a person. And so here you are. It's almost like pouring into an empty, into endless well. You keep pouring and pouring and pouring, and the water doesn't come up for you to be able to get the water back out that you put in. You know why? Because there's a hole that leads elsewhere underneath the well. You didn't know that. You didn't know that the place that you were pouring water into had a hole in it. So here you are just continually pouring with the thought that you're going to get a return on that investment that you're pouring into, only to discover there's a hole in it. So when it's time for you to get the reservoir, when it's time for you to get some overflow, when it's time for you to get back a payment on your investment, there's nothing there.
My.
And so when we look at the 5 facts for the future, fact number 3 is, do you see evidence of self? Here's number 4, and we got to get out the door. Number 4.
Oh, you saw you missed rhyming over here.
Here's number 4. Here's the 4th fact for the future. Evidence. This is a big one. In this day and age, this is huge.
Okay.
Evidence of empathy and compassion.
Empathy and compassion.
So there's a difference between empathy and sympathy. Empathy is being able to put yourself in someone else's shoes. Mm-hmm. Sympathy is being, oh, I'm sorry that happened to you. Empathy is being able to say, I can only imagine what it feels like when da-da-da-da-da happens. Mm-hmm. That's empathy. When you are looking for someone to fit your future and not your fantasy, you need to see evidence of empathy. My husband empathizes when I start stressing. And there are times when I stress.
I feel your pain.
He does, and he understands that about me. He puts himself in my shoes of what it feels like to be stressed in that moment. He's empathetic, but in the midst of showing me empathy, he's also compassionate about it. He doesn't fuss at me about my stress because he knows exactly what stresses me, and he knows how it shows up, and he knows when it shows up. And instead of fussing at me and dogging me and downing me and trashing me, he says, baby, here's what we got to do. And so he extends compassion to me. Jesus never dogged people out when he was trying to work with them. He showed them compassion and empathy, which is how he was able to help them change. He didn't change them. He helped them change.
Ooh, that's good. Empathy and compassion.
Do you see evidence of empathy and compassion?
So when you come home stressed out, maybe working for the prison or working in a job that's stressful, is that person going to be empathetic and compassionate with you? If not, they will not fit your future. The only thing they're going to do is frustrate you for the future.
Come on now, that was good, honey.
Come on now.
Frustrate you for the future.
Frustrate you for the future.
Listen, it's hard. This life is a challenge. I'm 50. I'll be 51 in September. What I
51,
see, that's
girl,
right,
you look good.
So what I see now at 51 is not what I saw at 21. I have different responsibilities. I have different experiences.
You ain't seen me at 21 at what it was.
I cannot. And so what ends up happening is if I act and try to think of my future based on 21, then I'm going to be frustrated about what I see.
Okay.
But when I look at the facts are is I'm 51, I ain't 21. And I have responsibilities like a 51-year-old, not a 21-year-old. And when I think about my future, there's more behind me than there is ahead of me. And so my actions should say that.
Wow.
My responsibilities and my responses should say that I'm a 51-year-old, not a 21-year-old. So when we look at what the evidence of empathy and compassion is, when I engage with other people, I shouldn't be encouraging them to react, because there's a difference between reaction and response. I shouldn't be getting a reaction of them like I'm 21. I should be getting a response of them like I'm 51. Does that make sense? Because there's a difference between a reaction and response. Very rarely do you get a reaction out of me because I ain't 21. Now you get a response out of me because I'm 51 and I look at life with a different lens. I'm looking for empathy. I'm looking for compassion. I'm looking for ways that I can improve interactions with people and experiences versus getting a reaction out of people. Does that make sense? So there are things that you have to filter now. And I'm very conscious about what I do. I'm very conscious about how I spend my time, because time is a new wealth. You ain't gonna get me to waste my time.
Oh. Oh.
I don't have time to waste, because I'm 51 and not 21. You're not gonna get me to waste my money, because I don't have money to waste, because I'm 51, not 21. So when we look at evidence of empathy and compassion, to me, those are things that help to build your capacity of yourself. Remember, we said evidence of self is number 4. But I'm sorry, number 3, when we talk about self. When you see yourself worthy, when you see yourself being respectful to yourself and loving yourself, when you see the value in yourself,
yes,
when you see the worth in yourself, guess what? Empathy and compassion is not hard to give to other people.
That's it. Not good. Not good.
That was good, honey.
Last.
So we're going on to number 5, because our time is up. 5 facts for
We
the
got
future.
5 minutes for y'all.
We ain't got 5 minutes for that.
Yes, we do.
We do? Okay. 5 facts for the future. We ain't talking about nobody's fantasy, because we all seasoned up in here and we ain't got time for no more fantasies. Listen, 5 facts for the future. Here's fact number 5.
Fact number 5.
Evidence of, as you yawn,
As I yawn.
reciprocation.
Reciprocation.
Reciprocity.
Reciprocity.
I give,
R-E-C-I-P.
you give. I take, you take.
O-C-I-T-Y.
Did y'all get that?
Acts, what is it? Evidence of reciprocity.
Reciprocity. Reciprocation. If you giving,
And not getting. That's right.
listen, it's a fantasy, not a future. You got to think about this. Listen, my cousin will tell you that our family, we love hanging out with each other. We enjoy our family time together, our extended family time together. But listen, when you come to the family function, my grandmother's birthday, you got to bring something, don't you, honey?
Yeah, most times you do.
Most times you do. Most times you got to bring something. You can't come empty-handed.
We done bought something.
Listen, we don't care if it's paper plates. We don't care if you got to bring something.
What you been bringing?
Because I bring peas. I bring meat.
That's right.
Okay, stop playing. I bring fluff. Okay. My cousin will tell you, listen, we all are assigned something to bring, because if you come in to eat, if you come into fellowship, you can't come empty-handed. So my question to you is, what you bringing to the table?
And what you bring to the table?
What you bringing to the table in your relationships? Are you the one that's getting? Or are you the one that's giving too much because you hoping you're going to get something in return?
And I hope, ladies, that you ain't thinking getting some sex is enough.
What? Come on now. Y'all too old for that.
Y'all too old for that.
Y'all too old for that. Stop playing. We've looked at the demographics of y'all that's watching us.
Y'all in y'all 40s and 50s.
Come on now. Y'all in y'all late 30s to
20s and
50s.
30s in here.
Listen, you too old for that. Stop playing. What are you getting in return?
What are you getting? Reciprocity.
You're not going to keep investing your money in something where you're not getting a return on your investment. Ooh. The same as with your relationships. Ooh. If you're not getting a return on your investment, cut it off. Stop playing. You're not going to waste your money. You're not going to do that. Time is up.
No.
Listen, I got stuff to do. I ain't finna be on with y'all all night long.
But listen, we appreciate y'all coming on tonight. I really pray that something has been said that really will help you to evaluate what you're in, evaluate what you want to be in, and make sure that you find somebody that fits your future, and not your fantasy. If your fantasy is good sex, baby, you gonna have a jacked up future. I'm sorry, because that good sex ain't gonna last always.
Don't last.
Are y'all hear what I'm saying? You better find somebody who's looking to have a future with, with investments, a future with, whatever.
Somebody
just something.
Learn with.
Yeah, somebody you can learn with. Somebody you can have intellectual, stimulating conversation with.
We read books together. We constantly talking. We learning cryptocurrency together. Come on,
cryptocurrency, the new age of digital currency, money, M-O-N-E-Y.
Yes.
Listen, you gotta have people who are going to stay on top of things. You know, one thing, I'm not knocking anybody who loves sports, because there's a lot of ladies who watch sports, a lot of guys who watch sports. Listen, when I was coming up, I guess I got this from my dad. My dad, he used to bring the newspaper home twice a day. In New York, we had the morning paper and we had the evening paper. And there was one section that my dad never read, and that was the sports section. And I took on that same trait, that same characteristic. Very rarely will I ever read the sports section, I'm not knocking anybody who loves sports because that's what they do.
Right.
But I want to have something that, that really,
Return on investment.
That ain't going to give me no return. Give me a book that can help stimulate my mind, that can help me to articulate better with people, articulate better about finances, articulate better about investing. Give me some of that. And I'm not saying that sports don't do that. Everybody needs to have a better,
that makes me a better me.
Yeah, everybody needs to have something that, kicks your fantasy, about what you like. But I don't like sports, not like that, not to be sitting there watching it all the time. Give me a good book.
Such as?
Whoop,
whoop.
If It's Love, It Will Last. This is a book that I wrote a few years ago. The book is about building and maintaining solid godly relationships. Some phenomenal chapters in this book. One chapter is called What is Love? One chapter is called Why Men Have Not Learned to Love. Woman's Expectations. It's check-in time. Are you carrying excess baggage? What do you bring to the table? Here is my heart. If it don't fit, don't force it. The Nile is not a river in Egypt. And the last chapter is called What Does God Say? Listen to me, Linda. Listen to me, Billy, Fred, all y'all. This is a book that y'all need in your library. I promise you, 98 power-packed pages of insight that will help change your thought process. Are y'all hearing me?
Easy reading.
You can find the book at myrelationshipmovement.com, myrelationshipmovement.com, myrelationshipmovement.com. Find the book. The book is only $10, and that's even with delivery, mailing. I'm not trying to make money off the book. I'm trying to help people to become better. We need some better relationships.
That's it.
And this book here will bless your life.
$10.
Are y'all hearing me? $10. The book is called If It's Love, It Will Last.
Make you last forever.
In the word above. Oh, I'm sorry. I'm sorry.
That's it, guys. We're only coming if y'all coming back. Let us know if y'all coming back.
If y'all coming back, we coming back. Because we love to talk. I love to talk.
I talk all week.
Thank y'all. I'm gone now. Bye.
Bye.